Welcome to Wednesday, March 27th's live stream. Your old pal Justin Robert Young right here on your internet screens. We've got a lot to go over. Supreme Court listening to a possibly pivotal conversation about the abortion pill mifepristone. We have fallout from the Sean P. Diddy Combs raids on his house. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this Ronna McDaniel situation at NBC. One of the great moments where you understand the true desire of a journalist is to just let's get news. No. Out of the way. The real story. Us, baby. Hell yeah. That's it. Why doesn't everybody stop paying attention to all this news? Start paying attention to the news gatherers. Plus, RFK Jr. now has a vice president. Or at least a vice presidential nominee. She is a political neophyte. A very powerful woman. A powerful woman with a lot of money. Nicole Shanahan. Not quite the Jobs widow level of power. Not quite Mackenzie Scott. Right? But she's there. She's somewhere there. And a lot of rumors. Rumors that made the Wikipedia page. So not like I didn't do a whole lot of digging on the dark web for rumors. But we'll get into the conversation. It would be a little bit too gross to kind of lead with the rumors, but we can get to the rumors. What do we want to start with? Supreme Court, P. Diddy, Shanahan, or Ronna McDaniel? What are we starting with? What do we want to go with? Journalists are the true heroes. Thank you for your service, for pointing out. Look, you said it, not me. Journo talking journo. You know, like it's the way it goes. All right. Let's talk. Okay, what happened on the Supreme Court? We'll start with that because I don't have a ton to say there. I'm not a legal watcher, but it appears that fears of mifepristone, the abortion pill, which in 2016 was made legal, i.e. you could terminate a pregnancy if you went to a doctor and got 3 different doses of it. That was then reduced before the pandemic in 2020 that you could just take 1 dose and it did not have to be prescribed by a doctor. It could be prescribed by a nurse's practitioner or a physician's assistant. That was then reduced in 2022 in the thick of the pandemic that you could get it prescribed to you via telehealth and just mailed to you. You could take it yourself. So this became an issue post-Dobbs when a Texas judge ruled that all of the FDA classifications of it were null and void. So the 2016, the 2020, and the 2022, gone. That essentially meant that the pill was illegal because it had not been approved by the FDA. That got slapped down by the Supreme Court back when that happened a few years ago. Now they have heard the actual case, and based on how the questioning went, one might assume that this is DOA, that the case is DOA. Mifepristone will likely continue to be as legal as it is right now in whatever states that they are legal. Could the Comstock Act prevent getting Viagra in the mail? I don't know. I don't know. So that was what happened with the Supreme Court. Good news for folks who are watching a lot of the women's health stuff. It also, if the court had come down particularly hard on this, I think from what I've read, it would have had more complications spanning outside of mifepristone. Doesn't seem to be the case. Yada, yada, yada. We move on. Worth the effort. How is Trump's DJT stock not him setting himself up for a way to take legal bribes while president like the hotel last time? You want, pay me X for worthless stock. I mean, we really have a loose definition of what a bribe is, right? Like, depending on who you're trying to slam on it, it really depends on what the bribe is. Because when people are like, oh, people were staying at the Trump hotel while Trump was president. Bribe. Okay. Then it's like, Hunter Biden had a job at a company that was being regulated by his father. Job. Not bribe, job. I don't know. I mean, I think any way that you can influence a president, you are going to do. Donating to the kids' private school, like whatever leverage you have to try to get something from the most powerful person on the planet, history says that you will do it. That being said, as for Truth Social, I don't know. I don't think it's worth that. I don't think it's worth the billions of dollars in valuation that it is now. But who knows? Social media is a very speculative area. And Truth Social is the kind of place where you could say, like, all right, we're going to go to subscription only. And it's going to be the place where you get Donald Trump's first thoughts. It would all of a sudden be very, very valuable. They'd be able to move in a way that Twitter or other social media companies don't. So who knows? You think many people care about his thoughts? Yes, I do. Have you seen what journalism is? Journalism is literally cataloging the man's thoughts. He says a thing, it gets reported. What are we even talking about if we don't think that of course America cares about Donald Trump's thoughts? One could say that it's all we've cared about for the last 8 years. I mean, geez Louise, of course we care about we care about his thoughts in maybe an unhealthy way. I believe he is the I don't know what the metrics are, but I think he has the most impact whenever he tweets anything. Like, yeah, no, and by the way, it would not get reported like this. Reporters hate him. They'd love for him to go away. They can't. They can't. They cannot make him go away because the people care about him. The people want to listen to what he has to say. The people either love or hate him, but either way they're reading. They are very invested. You, dear viewer, are very invested in every little thought that Donald Trump has. Very invested. You are hanging on his every word because this entire election is going to revolve around him again for the third time. He is the most famous person on the planet. I don't know who else would even be in the conversation. Seems like it's a meme stock. Oh, I would agree with that. I mean, anything from if I'm going to take off my PX3 hat and put on my DTNS chapeau, I can't see anything technically that separates Truth Social from any other Mastodon fork, you know, Fediverse clone. They're indistinguishable products. The biggest thing that is different is that they've got fairly exclusive access to one very famous poster. Taylor Swift has Trump beat. I don't think so. I think that there are people in India, there are people in Asia who don't speak English that know who Donald Trump is in a way that they don't know who Taylor Swift. That's just what happens when you're the president. When you're the president of the United States of America, you become very famous. So combine that with the fact that Donald Trump had spent decades in the public eye through Western media. Probably some poet is way more, or sorry, some Bollywood actress is way more famous. But you don't know that person, which puts a bit of a hole in your argument, sir. Like, yes, Bollywood is very big. Bollywood is very big. They move as a unit. Shout out to Bollywood. I actually, through a friend of a friend, know some Bollywood people now. I'm telling you, my social circle. It is splintering and spidering in very creative and interesting ways. But if you can't name them, then they're not exactly that famous. Now, are they? Taylor could run and beat both Biden and Trump, but she never would. Okay, you want to get into this hypothetical? So, the reason why most celebrity campaigns fizzle are because number one, the it's a lot easier to be a political force when you only have to talk about issues that are pretty much already litigated throughout the world, and that's what Taylor Swift does, and she should, for the record. I'm not saying that this makes her any lesser of a person, but she's not on the forefront of things. Taylor Swift is not, opening asking for a moment of silence for a ceasefire in the middle of her shows, or demanding that the entire arena chant "close the border," whatever your wedge issue in this particular election is. She's mostly taking fairly safe partisan positions, or just saying she wants to vote for one person or another, for which she doesn't really have to explain much more than whatever would fit in an Instagram post. Now, this is a good idea for her. I do think that this helps make her the unique phenomenon that she is. To get too bogged down into things would change people's opinion of her. But when you're a politician, you do have to get bogged down in the details. So you fundamentally can't think that Taylor Swift now would transfer one-to-one into politics. But let's say that she's exactly as savvy about politics as she is about songwriting in the music industry, for which you can make the argument that she is. Let's do that. Okay. Let's say that she is opening up different ways that you can move through the world of politics. The other thing that normally trips people up is the work ethic. Politics is both ego depleting and extraordinarily busy. You know, you look at the schedules of candidates when they are amongst the primaries, and it's, you know, like a 4 a.m. wake up, hair, makeup, XYZ, go through other stuff. What's up? Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to do this. It's why actors tend to make very, very, very crappy politicians, because actors don't really work all that hard. Not to say that they don't do things that are very difficult to do. They do. They deserve whatever money they get for the projects that they have. But the schedule wise is usually more than what a movie or television actor would do. And number two, it's a little ego depleting. Sometimes the crowds aren't what you wanted, and it's not because people don't love you. It's because that your organization was not great and they didn't get the word out and blah, 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 blah. Donald Trump was unique in that he worked as hard as a politician would in his first go of it. That's rare. Very rare. Celebrities don't normally do that. So if you look at what Taylor's schedule is now, which is hellacious, right? She is a mover and a shaker. But do you want to do that, but shift it even earlier and don't get the ego dump of a stadium full of people cheering for you so you can give the same stump speech over and over and over and over again? You know, that wears. It wears on people. So would Taylor Swift be a good politician? Number one, of course, right? If you're going to draft somebody into the world of politics, Taylor Swift would be a fantastic person to do that with. She's smart. She's capable. She's very pretty. She's extraordinarily famous. The question would be how she'd run, and that's where it would get interesting. Is she best case Nikki Haley, or is she best case Hillary Clinton? I mean, if you're going to look in the world of female politicians, you know, that would be Nikki Haley would be an interesting comp. Like, even if you took her across the Rubicon and put her on the Democratic side, but also, like, what are her positions? Is she an anti-war Democrat? Is she, you know, is she going to be taking the money from Raytheon? Who knows? Ronald Reagan, the actor. Ronald Reagan was, look, he understood how to rise up in a very, very different world of politics, in the backroom world of politics. Yeah. No, yeah. Reagan was, look, he came up in a very different world. All right, enough of this nonsense. Let's talk about Ronna McDaniel. I want to do a little chat GPT in real quick. Okay. Let's move this on over. There we go. How many on air? Actually, here, hold on. Please list 20 on air employees at NBC or MSNBC. Great segment. Glad you got the mic situation fixed. Thank you to the Discord people who pointed out that I was on AirPods. I would have thought they would have pointed it out for me, but they didn't. You guys did. You're the real heroes. Okay. Limit that list to only those that discuss politics on air. Yes, my wife is making a smoothie. Okay, so let's ask a further question. Of that list, how many worked in Democratic politics before transitioning to television? I know at least one, but I don't know whether or not there will be more. Oh no, ChatGPT, you're letting me down. Oh, don't give me the fucking throat clearing. Are you sure Chuck Todd didn't work in politics? Chuck Todd did work on political campaigns before transitioning to television. He was involved in the initiative campaigns in Florida and national campaigns in D.C. During college, Todd worked for Senator Tom Harkin's 1992 presidential campaign. Look, here's my larger point. Number one, television journalists are not real journalists. They are journalist flavored actors that discuss their opinions about politics. The point of these people in our society is that they have interesting and hopefully accurate understandings and predictions of the world that is unfolding before us, especially if you're in the position of an on-air personality. Sorry, a paid contributor like Ronna McDaniel was supposed to be. And take it from me, I know this is what I do now. This is not journalism. This is me being a barking dog on the internet. And whenever I've done anything close to television hits, which I guess I've done more British television hits than I have done American ones. I guess I did. Is Newsmax? Yeah, Newsmax is on the air. Anyway, I did Newsmax Monday. This is not about journalism. It's about takes. You're about talking about issues, and that's what it is. Hopefully you have something interesting or insightful to say. There's no reporting that goes into this. In fact, oftentimes with the insiders, they don't want to report what they know because they want to protect their friends. They also want to be in the know on X, Y, and Z. The fact that NBC and MSNBC, up to and including Chuck Todd, freaked out like Steve Bannon had just gotten hired for the 8 p.m. slot on MSNBC, that they can't tolerate a Romney. That is rich. It is rich. It is particularly rich. That is, her job would be to beat up on the Republicans. She was on for less than 20 minutes, and she moonwalked on January 6th. That is a valuable thing for not only your network, but also the Democratic cause, if you really want to go there. These people are short-sighted and stupid. So if you don't know what happened, Ronna McDaniel, former head of the RNC, she hits the open market. She's no longer in that job, but she has been in the room where it happened with Donald Trump for a very, very long time. She's dealt with the losses for the RNC through 2022. I've heard her in interviews shred some of the candidates in 2022. I think she will continue to be a very good television personality. She's good on air, and she's got stories. Stories that have not been told. And so apparently the deal was between CNN and MSNBC, and NBC signs her for $300,000 a year for 2 years. And grand opening, grand closing. Doesn't make it 72 hours after Chuck Todd on Meet the Press shreds her. That was her only interview. All of the hosts on MSNBC shred her. There is a revolt within NBC News. The inmates run the asylum. The bosses have no spine. They fire Ronna McDaniel, and now Ronna McDaniel says, cool, this will be the fastest $600,000 that I ever make. I'll be a real quick lick, a real quick $500,000 to do one 20-minute interview. But she's like, I want it all paid. All of it. $600,000, 2 years. You want to fire me? Cool. Now, the question's going to be, MSNBC or NBC could say, cool, we'll pay you your $600,000, but you can't work. So you just got to get $600,000 to not do anything. And she might want to be back on television immediately. So I would assume that there will be some kind of amicable split that will, some resolution will come there. But she's going to make NBC twist on this because it was humiliating. They put her through a struggle session and then threw her to the curb. It's the money that freaked people out. NBC cut money for contributors and then hired Ronna for $200,000 or $300,000. Yeah, she deserves it. She deserves it. Nobody who got cut knows the things that she knows. And I presume that when she was getting hired, the question was, how willing are you to tell the story of what you saw? In the same way, I'm sure they went to Jen Psaki and said, how willing are you to criticize the Biden administration when you believe that they are doing something wrong? I think Jen Psaki has done, whatever you'd expect in the few things that I've seen of her. She, has represented a view from within the White House. That's what you want her to do. You want her to be an authentic view into a interesting place. Ronna McDaniel is exactly that. She is a get. But it is what it is. I was really disappointed in NBC. I thought it was a really good move by them. I honestly did. I was like, oh, it's smart. Put some kind of diversity. Like, Meet the Press it's great for the access they get, but geez, Louise, like when they do the panels, there's nobody. At least ABC has Sarah Isger, who's good. She's really smart and funny. But NBC doesn't have anybody. I haven't followed this at all. What are the chances that this is them working the smarks for political journalism? No. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did. It would make political journalism more interesting. She could have done the Michael Cohen style mea culpa. I mean, yeah, but that's the line. The line is you need to go out, bow before those who you disagree with, say, I renounce all of my beliefs. I am no longer a heretic. Donald Trump is indeed a existential threat. He is a part of a fascist wave that is crashing from overseas. We must defend against Donald Trump. I worked with him, and I know he is true, pure evil. Anything that needs to happen which is why I'm endorsing Joe Biden. You got to say that, right? Because anything short of that, which is essentially the kind of never Trump line, short of that, and you're boned, which cuts out like 50% of the voting public. But this is all right. So you don't want your fragile, non-binary snowflake audience hearing from a different opinion. But that's television, baby. You want people who are arguing with each other. Like that was like, fuck. Morning Joe destroys Ronna McDaniel. That's a clip that goes viral, right? This is what people actually want. You could actually be something interesting as opposed to just literally preaching to the choir. That's the other problem about a lot of cable news. It's boring. Boring. You want to spice things up? Throw Brianna Joy Gray on the 5. You want to spice things up? Lock Chris Hayes in a room with Ronna McDaniel. Do something interesting. Throw a goddamn toaster in the hot tub. Just like this conflict averse nonsense. Get a little grit. And also, you've seen this throughout journalism that like the Slack students revolution, that everybody's terrified. Everybody's terrified about the kids on Slack. These like private Twitters, the worst version of Twitter exists on Slack. And you don't have bosses that will say, shut up. I don't care about your opinion. None of you make as much money for this network as Rhonda McDaniel is about to make for this network. None of you. And none of your little friends that we fired are going to make that money either. You want them to get rehired? How about this? Have them go somewhere else and prove that they're more valuable, and then we'll come back and hire them on their next contract. That's the reality of it. Is there a cable news org that does have that kind of conflict? Who would have been the last big show that regularly would just have people on to have fights? Was probably Bill O'Reilly. Tucker did a little bit of it, but not the same amount. He had a lot of people that would just agree with him. And that's what he's doing now. He doesn't really have a lot of folks. Now, the argument from some is that, well, they just stopped coming on. There was a time in which a liberal would go on Bill O'Reilly and they would be lauded for going into the lion's den and fighting. But now, in a world of like platforming, oh, you're platforming, you're validating this argument. People are kept in their silos by the tension of their own crowd. That means you do have to move out of your comfort zone a little. Yeah, the old days of CNN Crossfire were entertaining. It was good. You know, Jon Stewart, amazing comedian. Amazing comedian. Very funny person. When I list like among the funniest people of his generation, Jon Stewart is on that list. Not quite the thinker that I think he gets credit for. Not quite. Not quite. And like him acting like a pouty, haughty bitch about Crossfire. Are we better for Crossfire being gone? No, I don't think so. Crossfire really gave you that day's party lines. Yes, but at least you saw them clash against each other. As opposed to just, they're at it again. The others are othering in ways that we've never seen other before. Here to talk about it is somebody who barely skimmed over what the others are saying. Other person, yes, thank you. Indeed, others are doing other things in ways that are disgusting and remarkable. Meanwhile, we have the most polarized country that I've seen in my lifetime. You're telling me there's not interesting shit on the margins? You know? No, apparently not. All we have is like the most glue sniffy version of this, which are like debate streams, which at least maximum conflict. So salute to debate streams for maximum conflict. They're not sending their best. They're not. This is my impression of every Twitch debate stream. Oh my God, did you just say that? Did you really just say that? Wikipedia says. Whatever. Yeah, God, I can't believe I'm going to defend real time, but like, real time is still committed to having some level of disagreement. The problem is that real time's kind of a laid back show, so there's only so much spittle flying conflict that you're going to get. But shout out to them. They do continue to find interesting people and make them talk to each other. Yeah, I haven't seen Boiling Points or rising anti-Semitism. I haven't seen Rising. I haven't seen Rising. I haven't watched Rising. All I know is that Brianna Joy Gray's Twitter account, like, I don't know if she has a Hamas affiliate link, but like, it's fucking out there. I mean, like, you can be critical of the Israeli military and specifically their incursion into Gaza, but oh, 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 there's some spicy shit on her Twitter. The smallest unit of time is between Robbie saying something non-Israel related and Brianna saying, "What about Gaza?" You know, it's because they're trying to keep the news from. All right, I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into this. Not gonna get into this. Not gonna get into it. Not gonna be getting into it. Not doing it. Not getting into it. All right, we're deep enough into the show. So Nicole Shanahan, the vice presidential pick for RFK, according to the Wall Street Journal, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, ex-wife and baby mama of Sergey Brin, and allegedly, let me see if this is still on the Wikipedia. There we go. In 2022, the Wall Street Journal reported that a reason for her breakup with Sergey Brin was a brief affair in 2021 between Shanahan and Elon. So she's got a record of bringing people together, right? You know, she made Elon and Sergey Eskimo brothers, so that's nice. Just a light affair. It was a light affair. Dude, imagine like that's I don't know what Elon's game is, but like he's like a madman. Dude has spread his seed. He has got some notches on his bedpost. But that's pretty out of pocket. It's pretty out of pocket to start smashing the wives of your rivals. A brief affair. A brief affair. Do we want to read this article? Maybe we want to read this article. Who is Nicole Shanahan, the woman at the center of the Musk-Brin drama? Wrote the Straits Times. Sorry, it was a Bloomberg article. This is in 22. Silicon Valley entrepreneur and philanthropist Nicole Shanahan emerged over the weekend at the center of a rift between two of the world's richest men, Sergey Brin and Elon Musk. Shanahan and Brin have been married for over 3 years, but announced in June they plan to divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The Wall Street Journal reported over the weekend that Musk and Shanahan had an extramarital affair, an allegation that Musk has since denied. Shanahan and Brin signed a prenuptial agreement. How did Musk deny it? In a tweet on Monday, Mr. Musk wrote, Sergey and I are friends. We're at a party together last night. I've only seen Nicole twice in 3 years, both times with many other people around, nothing romantic. And then showed the New York Post a photo of him partying with Mr. Brin. Mr. Musk, the world's richest man, an estimated fortune of blah, 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 often spent time at Mr. Brin's place, according to the Wall Street Journal. Reported that Mr. Musk had an alleged liaison with Ms. Shanahan, a California-based attorney and Silicon Valley entrepreneur, in early December in Miami, Florida. At that time, Ms. Shanahan was separated from Mr. Brin, but still living together, according to a person close to her. So maybe things were already on the rocks. But now she is in the political limelight, which of course means all of this is fair game. Every rumor, every assumption, it will all be brought up to either bolster or discredit her, because this is the arena. And it's a no holds barred contest. She is now at the center of things. Let's see. So did she give a speech last night? Yeah, there we go. Let's watch, shall we?
You know, I grew up just a few miles from this very spot. My mother, who's standing right there with her phone up, she immigrated here from Guangzhou, China. And my late father was an Irish and German American. I want to tell you a little bit about my childhood so you can understand the source of my politics and convictions. My mother's first job when she came to the United States in 1983 was as a live-in caretaker to an elderly woman here at Lake Merritt.
Oh shit, was this in Oakland? I guess it was in Oakland.
By the time I was born, she worked as a dental office secretary. My father loved my brother and I dearly, but he was very troubled, plagued by substance abuse, and he struggled to keep a job. From watching my father and his struggles, I learned.
This is a very corporate, very corporate. She doesn't have the joie de vivre of a populist politician. She is kind of speaking like she's at a conference. So how would you define that? The top end of politicians kind of ride the wave of the crowd. They'll have their their moments or whatever, but they'll modulate their voice and pace based on where the crowd is, with the idea that you are kind of drawing it up. If you are at a conference, the expectations are a lot lower. It's mostly what you want to get across is just make sure everybody understands what you're saying. A good political speech, you might not even remember half of what's said. You just are going to remember what you felt, that you felt a big wave, that you were a part of something.
Not to be judgmental. He was doing the best he could. I think of him when I see the statistics of the millions of Americans who are addicted, depressed, or suffering. This is one of the epidemics of our time. It affects nearly every American family. I wish my experience was unusual, but it's not.
She is staring down that teleprompter, by the way. She is staring down that teleprompter. Good God, she is staring down that prompter.
It has become part of my determination to do something for our country. Every time my dad lost his job, our family just couldn't cover expenses. Food, gas, clothing, upkeep. It adds up more than you have in this situation. I know a lot of Americans know exactly what that's like, to just be one misfortune away from disaster. I don't think we would have made it without food stamps and government help. My mom worked hard, but it wouldn't have been possible to keep it together without that help. As you probably know, I became very wealthy later on in life, but my roots in Oakland taught me many.
I always love when it's a yada, 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 and then I got rich. Like, that's a very Democratic move to yada, 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 how you got rich. Normally, Republicans, that's like most of what they talk about. It's like, I was born on a dirt floor and I had to eat grass. But then I learned that grass could be made into weapons. And so I began selling my first grass weapon when I was 8. We then moved to a regional shop, and that's when I sold it to Tyco. And grass weapons were sold in Walmarts for hither and yon. Now I'm worth $5 billion. Look at me. Woo! But Democrats will be like, I've son of an immigrant. I knew the world was out to get me. Later in life, I became rich, but I never forgot being poor. They just, any story of it, it's just like, blah, 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 I'm rich. I have to say I'm rich or else you're going to think I'm an asshole, but I am rich. I'm not going to talk about it. Move on.
Things I have never forgotten. That the purpose of wealth is to help those in need. That's what it's for. And I want to bring that back to politics too. That is the purpose of privilege. I went to St. Mary's High School, just a few miles from here. In my junior year, we have some St. Mary's Panthers here.
She's going to a lot. She's very nervous. You can tell that she is very, very, very nervous. But she's going to a lot of local stuff. You know, all right, armchair campaign speech writer who's never written a campaign speech for anybody. If you want to go local, then be very specific. Shout out, my mom worked here in Lake Merritt, right by the old On's half-pound burger. Everybody remember those are cheap pops. But if you are a local kid, you're gonna get the energy of that crowd. And when you're making an impression on people, especially since it's going to be nationally, if not internationally distributed, it doesn't matter how you got the energy. It matters that everybody's seeing you around the energy.
In my junior year, I had another formative experience. And that set me up for this lifetime of political consciousness. I applied for a program to live with families in El Salvador. In praying with these families and helping them rebuild after the civil war there, I learned what war really is. I learned how it rips lives apart, it brutalizes children, how it visits unspeakable horror on the innocent. And I also learned the resilience of the human spirit and its infinite capacity to heal, to forgive, and to restore. El Salvador is where I came to understand war, but more importantly is where I also came to understand peace. That is what inspired me to my first political action in high school. At the onset of the Iraq War, I became an anti-war activist.
Very popular in Oakland.
If I'm being honest, I didn't really know how to do it. I printed pamphlets and I led a walkout, and we went to our local radio station. But I knew in my bones then that violence begets more violence. I'd seen what that does to society, and I didn't want my country, the country I love so dearly, to be doing that in the world. Yeah.
They've got a very well-behaved crowd for Oakland. I wonder how much they vetted for it.
So these are two of my political convictions I hold today: to serve peace and to help those in poverty. So you can understand why I gravitated to.
RFK is anti-war if you don't count Gaza. Well, I mean, you know, they took his fucking dad. You know, his dad got shot for Palestine. So what do you expect? Dude got shot in the head for it. Is he gonna cape up?
Democratic Party, because that was supposed to be the party of peace, the party of compassion. Many Democrats, we still believe in those ideals, but unfortunately, as an institution, it has lost its way.
Monday.com has definitely changed and improved the way we work. Having a place.
So here's the problem with that line. That's supposed to be a big line. That's supposed to be a, like, this is a walk away line. We are committed to peace. This is why you get like the stilted politician-y speech. Like, I am committed to peace. And Democrats, many of us are still committed to peace. Unfortunately, the institution is not, right? So you want that moment where people are like, there's a real science to the kind of anticipatory way that stuff, it's parodyable because it's very funny because it sounds odd, but there is a science to it, mostly because you want your audience to slowly all be on the same page about the next word you're going to say, because we think we want surprises, but we really just want patterns completed. So if you're like, Democrats are bad. If everybody is thinking in their head bad before you say bad, then when you say bad, they're going to go like, ah, because they really like the pattern.
There is only one anti-war candidate today, and you won't find him in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. He is an independent, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yes, and it is his commitment to peace and to the welfare of hardworking people in America that draw me as a person of compassion to his candidacy. Yes.
All right, I'm going to let this go for a second.
As recently as a year ago, I really didn't think much of Bobby Kennedy because I didn't know much about him. All I had was a mainstream media narrative that was effectively telling me horrible, disparaging things. But then a friend who's here today pulled me aside and she said, "Nicole, please do me a favor. Just listen to an interview with Bobby Kennedy, just one." So I did. And then I listened to another one and then another one, and I recognized that the person who I was seeing in these interviews was the exact opposite of the media slander of his character. I saw a person of intelligence, of compassion, and of reason. I saw a fellow lawyer who had committed himself to finding the truth and fighting for the environment and for people. I discovered a person who speaks out on issues that, even though they are critically important to human health and welfare, are consistently ignored by our government. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope for our democracy again. We can do this. It's possible. One of those issues also happens to be a passion of mine and a focus of my philanthropic work: chronic disease. I got into it through my own journey of reproductive health, followed by a steep learning curve for caring for my daughter, who has an autism diagnosis. In that journey, I discovered that women's fertility is in precipitous decline around the world. We are facing a crisis in reproductive health that is embedded in the larger epidemic of chronic disease. Because it has been so personal for me and my daughter, I got deep into the research and consulted some of the best scientists and doctors. Let me tell you,
This is by far the best she's done so far. It's personal, and it demonstrates what I think is a very unique skill for her, which is I'm a really smart person who's doing my best in the world. How can I serve America? And if you come in with something, my daughter has autism, I am very, very interested in chronic disease. I've done a lot of research on this. That matters. That's important. That's good.
what I found. There are three main causes. One is the toxic substances in our environment, like endocrine disrupting chemicals in our food, water, and soil. Like
That might be a little bit of a big word for a political speech. You know, LBJ told his speechwriters that you couldn't write a word for him that had more than 3 syllables. That was the max. He didn't want 4-syllable words.
pesticide residues, the industrial pollutants, the microplastics, the PFAs, the food additives, and the forever chemicals that have contaminated nearly every human cell. Yes, and it makes you angry to hear this. It makes me angry to say it because we shouldn't be here right now.
We shouldn't be here? Is it true that Democrats are trying to destroy RFK more than Republicans because RFK takes votes away from Biden? So there are more dedicated Democrats trying to keep RFK off the ballot. Specifically, we're going to talk about it on We're Not Wrong, but in Nevada, they are trying to deny his ballot access because despite the fact that he got the required amount of signatures, he apparently did not list Nicole Shanahan's name on the application. So we don't know whether or not he's just going to be able to resubmit or if he's going to have to get new signatures. But part of that was allegedly why this announcement came when it came, but that was because of DNC pressure. The RNC isn't exactly in love with him. I think Trump has tried to keep a little bit of distance, but they are not keeping him off the ballot. Now, if RFK was taking more votes away from Trump than he were from Biden, you'd probably see the RNC trying to keep him off the ballot. You know, again, no holds barred. There's not a lot of honor in this game.
Is electromagnetic pollution. You don't hear politicians talking much about that either, but it is something we need to look at. As Bobby says, We need to investigate every possible cause of chronic disease epidemic that is devouring our nation from the inside. Yes.
What the hell happened there?
Yes.
What the hell?
Devouring our nation from the inside. Yes.
Little jump cut.
It is not about a new pill or, quote, finding the cure. We know the cure is cleaning up our environment and providing the basic public goods that are the foundational conditions for health and healing. It is about a shift in our priorities. It is about compassion.
Big build, big build.
Chronic disease, addiction, poverty, depression. This is where Americans are hurting the most. It is time for politicians to listen.
Third parties destroy themselves. If no labels were smart, they would get 10 votes in the House and be a power broker. That's how they started. They did that. That's already a thing. That's how they started. That's what they still do.
So here is how the Kennedy-Shanahan ticket is going to end the chronic disease epidemic. While Bobby is focused on ending the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies, I am going to assemble the best technologists and scientists in the world, and we will use the latest in AI and computation and examine the health records databases of our nation and those other nations who are also on a quest to solve chronic disease. We will find the answers. We will find the answers to our most pressing health concerns within weeks, not decades. We can, if we have access to those databases. It is time to move out of the dark ages of medicine. We can solve the mysteries guarded by corporate influence. We can move from Band-Aid solutions, and we can end this chronic disease epidemic once and for all. I believe it.
Chronic disease, an interesting choice for a top top issue. But you want to know what? I would rather, if you're in a situation, you're the vice president of an independent candidate that's polling around 10%, I'd rather an interesting thing than a well-worn thing. You know, I think the best thing that you could do from an independent perspective is to create an issue that becomes so loud the main parties have to deal with it. And so, you know, this is a little earthy, right? And I don't mean that in the environmental sense. I mean that in the like, okay, well, let's solve chronic disease. All right, what do we really mean by chronic disease? All the solutions are very kind of techno-progressive-y, which I guess is where she wants to be. So, you know, I don't know. I like it.
You know, my sense is that most American moms and dads already know the truth of the matter, and it's just long overdue that the duty of care owed to the American family is actually given. We can find the answers conclusively. You know, I have a background in tech, so I tend to think in terms of data. In my tech days, I developed AI-powered software to automate affordable legal services. Well, guess what? The CDC and research institutions have the data we need. We can apply technology to figure out environmental factors. We can figure out what's making us sick. We just have to ask the right questions, do the right research, and apply the right tools. We have to rid science of the corporate bias that contaminates it today.
So, you know, again, armchair nonsense, start barking dog on the internet, blah, 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 blah. I would have loved to see her fire up a little bit here because she does have a compelling case where she's saying I use a lot of buzzwords, good buzzwords. I used AI to make legal services accessible for people that otherwise wouldn't have them. I would get a little, just one sentence explanation. I did that by automating tasks that otherwise would be very, very time consuming. Well, guess what? And this is something else. When we are in the White House, I will be going directly to the CDC. I will be demanding these databases, and I am going to use the same AI tools that I use to automate this on that. Because the research that needs to be done doesn't need to be hidden behind government doors and doesn't need to be hidden behind academia's doors. This can be done out in the public because it's the public that is affected. If you do something like that, then that way you are, again, her strength is I'm a smart lady. I'm thinking in very smart ways. I'm smarter than most politicians. So you're going to forgive anything else in terms of presentation. But you've got to walk people along the path to understand why that matters.
Then we put this thing into reverse. So actually, the first issue that I applied my tech background to was criminal justice.
Thinking to start cutting carbs, I need to drop my belly fat.
If you want to drop this,
It was across the bay in San Francisco, where the district attorney's office needed help examining thousands of police records thought to contain evidence of racial bias, wrongful arrest, and patterns of prejudice. I put together a team of computer scientists to develop a computational method to collate these records and design a method for analysis. But what I really learned through this was the sorry state of criminal justice in our country. It isn't just about policing. It is about the school to prison pipeline. It is about a broken and dismally functioning infrastructure. It is about recidivism that we have not taken the right approach to.
Criminal justice is a very weird issue right now in the Bay. I will tell you for a fact, 5 years ago, that exact same line would have been a huge ovation. Huge ovation if she said that exact same thing 5 years ago. Things have gotten a little weird in Oakland and San Francisco in the intervening. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum. You've had a lot of very outside the box DAs that have been less than popular.
How do we make our systems a system of rehabilitation and not punishment? These questions don't have easy answers. I know this is hard. This is very hard, but they are the right questions to be asked, and there's only one candidate asking them, and it's Bobby Kennedy. And I'm going to mention one more issue close to my heart. This has to do with climate. My interest in health and solving climate issues has led me to the realm of agriculture. I realize that a nation's health comes down to its soil and the people who work it. Hell yeah. Healthy soil is the foundation of healthy food, it is the foundation of a healthy ecosystem, and it is our answer to the climate crisis. It is the foundation of healthy economy. But what politician besides Bobby Kennedy do you ever hear talking about soil? None. I've produced 2 films on the issue, Common.
So this is a good thing for her. This is like, what they want this to be is like the Ron Paul gold standard thing, which by the end of the Ron Paul campaign, Ron Paul saying the phrase gold standard was like Led Zeppelin playing the first few notes of Stairway to Heaven. The crowd would just go, ah! Ron Paul's like, and we're gonna get rid of the gold standard, or bring back the gold standard. Ah! So, I mean, like, what you want is for stuff like this, these outside the box things that are really exciting your hardcores, that you want them to be like, soil, soil, soil.
Sound is the latest. I've we've got some common ground and kiss the ground people here. Thank you guys for coming out today. I've talked to Congress people and senators, but all I've gotten are vague promises that never amount to real change. Republicans and Democrats alike have fallen under the sway of big agrochemical companies and food conglomerates. They might invoke the ideal of the family farm, but they have betrayed it again and again. So I am entering myself, I know I'm not a politician until just now, but I am entering myself to do this work and to highlight this need, because guess what? I've met some of the most innovative American farmers. Their methods rebuild soil, sequester carbon, recharge aquifers, and revitalize the economy. And you know what? We don't have to force anyone to do anything or to imitate them. All we have to do is change our system of regulation and subsidy to support those methods. We can no longer support extractive corporate agriculture. I am so hopeful for this. I hope you.
So, look, she's very passionate about this. I think both of these issues, criminal justice and farming, you really need to boil down to one point. You really need to boil it down. It has to be, we are going to make regulations on soil. We're going to break up Monsanto. We are going to make mandatory nationwide standards on justice. That there's got to be a thing. And when you're a third party, you can swing for the fences because ain't nobody going to do it, right? So it's like, say the thing that nobody else would have to say, or else they'd be held to that standard.
Understand now what is me into politics, hasn't it? And what in this moment I am leaving the Democratic Party.
So this should have been up front.
And I want to say two things about that. First, even though I am leaving the party, I believe I am taking the best ideals and impulses with me. The Democratic Party is supposed to be the party of compassion. It is supposed to be the party of diplomacy and science. It is supposed to be the party of civil liberties and free speech. And most importantly,
a bit Kamala-y, if that's not being sexist. Well, both announced in Oakland, right? I don't know where this happened in Oakland. For Kamala, it was Francagala Plaza, which is a big in the round area downtown. I don't know where this was. It sounds like it was inside. So it might be the convention center, which is right across the street from Francagala Plaza. But Kamala's a far better speaker. Kamala's not a great interviewer. Kamala's a good public speaker. She is a good public speaker. This is obviously, Shanahan's first time stepping up to that level, but she's giving, again, more of a tech conference style speech than she is a politician speech, because this is apparently the first time that she's given a politician speech.
Party of the middle class and the American dream. While I know many Democrats still abide by those values, I want to point out, and I've been in touch with many people in the Democratic Party, I do believe they've lost their way in their leadership. I worry for the party's overwhelming interest in elitism, celebrity, and winning at all costs. And I worry that they do it even if that means turning a blind eye on the issues that they all know to be true. I know this because I've been in those circles for the last 8 years, and I have grown increasingly tired of it.
She's a mega donor and she's not going to take it anymore. I'll make my own party with blackjack and hookers.
It wasn't until I met Bobby and the people supporting him that I felt any hope in the outcome of this election. As I've re-examined my Democratic Party assumptions, I have seen conservative voters with new eyes too. I have met farmers, I have met hunters who are some of the most staunch conservationists I have ever met, who understand ecosystems better than most. I have met mothers protecting their children who are searching every possible avenue for their health. And yet the Republican Party, like the Democratic, is letting them down because the actions of the party are diverting from the values that actually support individual freedom. In fact, the very failure of both parties to do their job to protect their founding values has contributed to the decline of this country in my lifetime. Maybe that's why I see so many Republicans disillusioned with their party as I become disillusioned with mine. If you are one of those disillusioned Republicans, I welcome you to join me, a disillusioned Democrat, in this movement to unify and heal America.
There's something there that you could do rhetorically, like disillusion. The solution for the dissolution is Bobby Kennedy. Something. Solution, dissolution. You know, I don't know. This is all, disillusion. The solution to your disillusionment is not to run back to where you came from. The solution is Bobby Kennedy Jr. Bobby for the jobby.
This independent movement comes at a time of extreme division in America that threatens to tear this country apart. Yes, let's fix it. It is time for a realignment. It is time, as Bobby Kennedy says, to focus on our unifying values rather than our divisions. And so if anyone is listening who never considered an independent ticket, I want to extend the same invitation to you that my friend did to me last year. Please listen to Bobby Kennedy in his own words. Take a look at his vision for America. It is a vision that I share too, as I spend the next 7 months of my life getting him on each and every ballot in this country.
Assalamu alaikum. This is an urgent appeal for the people of Yemen. The suffering in Yemen right now is truly unimaginable. 79% of the population is living below.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. The vision we
The room seems empty and low energy for a VP announcement. Badly mic'd. The Echo Man. Yeah, I wonder where it was. Can somebody look it up? Where this was? I know it was in Oakland, but I wonder where in Oakland.
is a vision of national healing. It is an America that leads the world no longer through force of arms, but through the power of example. It is an America that wages peace through diplomacy. It is an America that had become the sickest industrialized country on the earth and turned it around. We're gonna turn it around. It is an America where everyone who works hard can afford a decent life. It is an America where people of all races receive fair and equal treatment under the law. It is an America whose freedoms are the envy of the world. It is an America with honest and transparent government institutions. Can you imagine a country whose government doesn't lie to you? People talk about my age. It's true. I will be the youngest vice president in American history.
This is one of the things, I'm glad she said that, because this is one of the things that always gets on my nerves when politicians don't say, I'm gonna win. You need to say before, during, and after, we are going to win. Like, otherwise, it's literally just insulting for everybody there. Why are they even believing in you if you don't believe in yourself? I also would have put this early, just to make sure that everybody knows. You know, we're talking about California here. You're never quite sure exactly how old people are. She is under 40. She is legit under 40. But Bobby Kennedy is in his like mid 70s and he looks like he could be in his 50s. So I would have put earlier, I am going to be the youngest vice president.
Let me tell you why so many of us young people have turned away from politics. It's because we lost hope that change would ever come from inside the system. After all, which party wins with promises of hope and change or to drain the swamp? Things proceed as usual, declining bit by bit each passing year. So that's the reason. But the other reason is that we can't stand the phoniness anymore. We can't stand the lies. We can't stand the inauthenticity. And that's why Bobby Kennedy leads in all the polls among young people. We are hearing our voice in his. So I come to you today as a former Democrat. I come to you as a woman not quite 40. I come to you as someone who
I would have stuck with that. Stick with that. If you want to authentically talk to women, spend a second there. Get the higher pitch woos of just like not quite 40. Give a little like a little Rodney Dangerfield. Very relatable. She's got weapons here.
And health and poverty and wealth. And I come to you as a mother. You know, most of the philanthropists I work with are women, other mothers. And initially, it was a mother who's here today who reached out to inspire support in this campaign. I never thought in a million years I would be up here running for vice president. No. But what I am doing is I'm joining the millions of mothers out there who support this candidacy.
She does seem legitimately emotional. She is touched by this. There is some good here. I think a lot of people, I don't know, people were like shitting on her. This is not a bad speech. You would hope she will continue to get better. Here's the one thing that's missing though, because we're getting into the big finish. Traditionally, a vice president is an attack dog. So she went after the Democratic Party. She went after some stuff, but she wasn't really like. The most exciting thing that she'll be able to say is, let me tell you about the institutional rot in the donor class of the Democratic Party. Nobody else is going to tell you this. Not the media who wants to suck up to them because they need to talk to them because they're the ones that are going to get their funding for whatever blog they're going to have to start when they get fired. And it's certainly not anybody from the donor class, because they're all complicit in the fact that they're trying to push this old jalopy over the line. But let me tell you some of the things that I heard when we were having these conversations. Let me tell you the cynicism. Let me tell you blah, 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 blah. That's the most exciting thing that she could say. Now, does she want to burn her friends? Probably not. Can you generalize it? Probably so. I would have liked to see a little bit more of an attack there.
They are Republicans and Democrats and independents. They read the labels at the supermarkets and order how to keep their kids healthy. They watch in anguish, many of them, when their children suffer from chronic disease. They cry silently as their teenagers deal with depression, anxiety, and addiction. They do their best to hold it together, and they do because they're frickin' strong. They're my heroes. These moms, they're my heroes. They're the moms trying to make a normal life for their children in a world that has gone crazy. As a mother myself who knows the firsthand challenges of raising a child with special needs, I promise to you to make this world a little less crazy. I will work with Bobby Kennedy to make America once again a country of peace, a country of compassion, a country that is prosperous and free. And this won't happen overnight, but I have seen miracles that the human spirit can accomplish. I have seen its resilience. And most importantly, I have seen its capacity to heal. And what is possible for the human being is also possible for our nation. So please, join me and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the healing of America. We've got this. We're gonna do this.
Folks, just want to take a moment.
Folks, here's the deal. Why is there so much goddamn headroom? Can't you tilt the camera down? Come on. What's the deal?
For your support today. Not a single donation goes.
Political newcomer in Oakland.
All right, there we go. We're done. And that'll be it for us today. I think I'm going to cut that out and throw that on the YouTube. I'm going to cut out the breakdown of her speech because I think it is interesting. My thoughts on it. The beauty of that position, being in an independent candidacy that is getting a lot of attention relative to third-party candidacies, is that you can swing pretty wildly. So I would say that's a fine announcement. She didn't, do anything that would disqualify her. Unfortunately for her, she is going to need to be more combative. I think the biggest thing that she will be able to do is draw a lot of attention to her campaign by attacking the donor class of the Democratic Party. It's where she came from. She's got the stories. She hinted at it of like, I was tired of the lies. I was tired of blah, 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 blah. Delve into that and you will get attention. Because those people are thin-skinned and they will be very angry about it. And they will tell their friends in the press, like, well, you want to know what? Now, she's going to get some mud. She's going to get some mud. You know? Do you think the Wall Street Journal talking about Sergey and Elon is bad? Oh, baby. Every rumor in Silicon Valley is going to come out. So she's got to understand this is a full contact sport. She can ask the top of her ticket. It is a leave it all out on the field world of presidential politics. Nobody knows that better than the Kennedys. But if you are echoing the campaigns of Jack Kennedy, if you are echoing the campaigns of Bobby Kennedy, then you got to be ruthless. And you have to use the media against your enemies. That is the reality of both Jack and Bobby. Go back and study those campaigns. They weaponized the media. RFK's done a really good job doing the podcast circuit with that. He has done a good job. She has an opportunity. Nobody is going to be able to resist talking about dirt that's thrown at her. But every speck of it is going to be attention onto the campaign that they wouldn't have otherwise got. And she is in a situation where she can say, look, my personal life is my personal life. There's a reason why they're talking about that, and they're not talking about beep, 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 beep. Makes sense. All right, there we go. That's it. Jay Ramirez. I don't know what number. No, we're not going to put that up on screen. It's very funny, though. Actually, all right. I don't know if this is going to be on. No, I'll save it. I don't know if it's my story to tell. It was a very funny moment that happened that involved that. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.